r/relationships. Agreeable cost 123 says. My 29 female, husband 27 male, allowed his brother 30 male to propose to his girlfriend 23 female at our wedding after I said no. Is our marriage salvageable? Throw away because my handle is a recognizable one. Names have been changed. I married my sweet husband Liam last Saturday. It was perfect, except for one major hiccup during the reception. Liam has an older brother, Ben, and they are very close, so it was no surprise when Liam asked Ben to be his best man. While I like most of my new in-laws, Ben has always rubbed me the wrong way with his behavior. He would crack all of these jokes that aren't really funny and tries way too hard to be the cool and popular guy. Think Screech from Saved by the Bell. Only 10 times more annoying. To be honest, I feel somewhat sorry for Ben. Liam was diagnosed with high-functioning autism when he and Ben were kids. As a result, their parents lavished more time and attention on Liam. This led to Ben being emotionally neglected, and as a result, he acted out big time in their teens. He got into trouble and this led to their parents swinging the pendulum in the opposite direction, lavishing attention on Ben. Liam kept his head down and didn't say anything. To this day, their parents are more likely to side with Ben than Liam. Liam is a sweet guy, as I mentioned. Unfortunately, he is a bit of a people pleaser and doesn't really understand social etiquette and cues very well. It has caused some problems, but I don't regret knowing him or even marrying him. 4 weeks ago, Liam and I were having dinner with his parents and Ben. Everything was fun, and we were all talking about plans outside the wedding. That's when Ben revealed that he had plans to ask his girlfriend of 5 years, Melody, to marry him. Of course we were all excited and asked about his plans for the proposal. That's when Ben turned to Liam and said I was hoping to do it at the reception. I laughed nervously, knowing his tendency to make bad jokes, and told him you do that any my brothers will throw you out of the venue, but Ben got offended that I laughed, and I realized he was being serious instead of asking me what I thought, which he's pretty good about doing. Liam said of course you can, Melody will love it. I touched Liam's arm and said we'll talk about it later. He didn't understand why I was so upset. I just wanted to get out of there as my Mill and Phil were too busy congratulating Ben and wouldn't be able to tell Liam why it was a bad idea. Liam and I moved to a different room and I explained to him about how another person proposing or making a major announcement was in bad taste as it takes away from the bride and groom. Liam nodded, crestfallen. Feeling sorry for him, I said how about this, we organize a party with Ben for him to propose to Melody at. It would be far more memorable. Liam liked the idea and we both went out. I told Ben that we were willing to help organize a special party so he can propose to Melody there. But he was not to propose at our wedding. Ben nodded and I thought that was the end of that. Saturday rolls around and the day goes off without a hitch. We get everything done and it's time for the reception. Ben, as best man, has a speech prepared for us. It was full of bad jokes and weird attempts at puns, but it was overall very nice. Part of Ben's speech was to move around the tables, which should have been a red flag, but I decided to not say anything. At the end of the speech, Ben stopped at Melody and proposed. I was so mad that I stormed out. Liam and my mom came to comfort me. Liam apologized over and over, saying they told me it'd be fine. They told me it'd be fine. I was just done at that point. Mom offered to drive me home. Liam kept begging for forgiveness, but I told him don't call me. I'll call you. And left. Needless to say, Liam and I haven't seen each other since. My side of the family is angry at Liam and his family. His family, on the other hand, are congratulating Ben and Melody. Most of their Facebook feed are pictures of Ben's proposal. I was prepared to file for annulment and move on. That's until Liam sent me an email. I learned that Ben and their parents applied the pressure over and over on Liam until he finally caved the night before the wedding. I asked him why he didn't come to me, and he said you were so stressed and I didn't want to worry you. Liam concluded with, I want another chance. Please give me another chance. Now I'm really torn. I don't like that Liam went behind my back thanks to family pressure. That's not a good sign for a marriage. On the other hand, I still love him, and since he's a horrible liar, I know he's telling the truth. I still haven't made up my mind about what I want to do. Is our marriage salvageable? Can we rebuild? Liam is genuine, but can I persuade him that a family should never do that to a member? Too long. Didn't read. My husband was pressured into letting his brother propose to his girlfriend at our wedding reception after I said no. Said husband is begging for another chance. What do I do? Class 1 says, this is tough, but if you feel like this will be a reoccurring situation, then annulment makes sense. I would at least have a conversation with Liam and see if he's willing to stand up to his family and ask that they all apologize to you. You can't just accept nothing. He needs to show he's willing to change. Blue Eagle 23 says, does it suck? Absolutely. Did Liam screw up? 100%. Should you end your marriage over if? No. Stuckinauerville says, get out now. I speak from experience. This type of family, it's just not worth the drama. Rieta Rue says, I wouldn't want to be a part of this family. You left your own wedding and they haven't been bombarding you with apologies? Instead gloating about the engagement. They stole your moment. It was intentional. They blatantly disrespected you. Your husband will always give in to them. Is he willing to go no contact with his family? I doubt it. If you want a life where your needs are not important over his brother, stay married. Administration 7456 says, no, this is a preview of what you have to look forward to. Also, make damn sure his family knows it's their fault you are getting an annulment. I would post it on social media, but I mean that way. Good Lake says, if he can't put his bride's reasonable wishes first on her wedding day, he's not ready for this marriage. If you'd annul a marriage because your brother-in-law proposed at your reception, neither are you. To Mana Voices 656 says, Liam needs to be willing to cut his family off for this to work. They will continue to walk all over your marriage for the length of its duration. Thiscoldba Massive says, if he couldn't say no to his family on his own wedding day, he won't be able to say no to them on any other day going forward in your marriage. His family are never going to respect you or care about your feelings, and he will always choose them over you. Consider how much you want his family dictating how you and your husband live and what happens with your kids. Mysterious Girl 24 says, unfortunately, I think this is what you have to look forward to. Them not respecting you as the wife and playing the divide and conquer game. Basically, when you say no, they'll go behind your back and talk your husband into saying yes to get their way. They will make the two of you fight and disagree so that you and your husband won't put up a united front. They don't give a damn about how you feel. I know some people may think that an annulment is drastic or an overreaction. But the fact that they knew good and well you didn't want your reception to essentially become hijacked and turned into an engagement party, but chose to do it anyway, is really hard to get past. If you choose to give him another chance, set clear and firm boundaries, and before you go LC. Has his side of the family reached out to you and explained themselves or apologize? r/relationships. Sleeping Lettuce says, my 24 female boyfriend 24 male lacks critical thinking skills and it's hindering our relationship. My boyfriend and I have been together for a year now, and I noticed early on that he had beliefs that he could not explain. Usually, people who have critical thinking skills are able to reflectively question their beliefs and distinguish them between beliefs that lack evidence and are simply there as a form of comfort. When my boyfriend and I are discussing a subject and our differing beliefs comes into play, I'm always curious about why he believes the way he does. When I ask him to share his perspective, he gets offended and never gives me an actual reason for why he holds that belief. He always defaults to saying, well, that's just how things are, or because it makes sense, or why would it not be that way? Which are not actual explanations. When I share my beliefs, he never asks me for my perspective. Instead, he dismisses my beliefs and judges me for them. On other occasions I volunteer an explanation for my perspective, and he just remains silent and disengages from the conversation. It's very frustrating, because I'm a very curious person and I like having deep conversations and exploring different ways of thinking, but he seems so close-minded, which makes me feel rejected. Too long, didn't read, my boyfriend doesn't stimulate my mind enough, am I sapiosexual? Harvey Snake says, usually, people who have critical thinking skills are able to reflectively question their beliefs and distinguish them between beliefs that lack evidence and are simply there as a form of comfort. LMAO, if only that were true, no dishonest politicians would ever be elected. The reality is that even well-educated, critical thinking people are very irrational about their core beliefs. Regular people aren't philosophers or debaters. They don't think of all the ways they need to justify and defend what they believe. Instead, they accept them. You attacking his beliefs like you do, and you are, isn't going to change his mind, because he knows he doesn't have all the answers, and, like most people, doesn't prioritize finding them just to satisfy you. You can break up with this guy for any reason and you will probably find someone of the same mind as you. I also believe that you, and whoever you eventually find, will also realize that you have your own irrational, emotional, and potentially irreconcilable differences that are not open to discussion. It's toxic behavior to constantly attack the beliefs of others around you, and you will alienate others by continuing to do it. Accept that they have the right to believe whatever they want for any reason, including none at all, just as you want your right to believe what you want to. Only when one group wants to impose their beliefs on others, to limit and restrict them, or deny the other group the same rights, is there something worth really fighting about. Find the common ground to build relationships on, instead of finding your differences to tear them down. You will have a more fulfilling life that. Beth Maland says, imagine watching a film with him, replete with subtexts, satire, indirect messages and H9GH level wit, and they all go over his head. There's nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with you. But the two of you are not a match. Kelsa Stash says, and your husband is the exact type of person that MAGA targets. Nyadia says, you are young. Break up and learn from this not to date a guy like this more than a few dates, and definitely don't waste a year with one. Part of dating is trial and error, learning what works and what doesn't for you. Men with no want or ability to look at things from a critical POV is now on your do not want list. Ladiarsalat1 says, you like to debate. He doesn't. You like to seek to understand your partner, he just wants to be accepted at face value and stifle your expression of ideas that differ from his. He will find someone who is like him, and you will find someone like you. This is a fundamental incompatibility and you can end it. Majoria9692 says, isn't that the same as when you ask a person about religion and ask them to explain why they are religious or not? It's not easily explained, is it? Kenda Kush says, I don't think you're sapiosexual. I think your BF is just ignorant and too dumb for you. I wouldn't be able to handle that either. TLF 555 says, you've been together a year, probably a good time to examine whether or not you are truly compatible. Poor critical thinking skills would be a deal breaker for me, because I need to be able to respect my partner. An author pin says, a person who does not reason his way into the views and values he adopts is vulnerable to crazy, irrational, sometimes fraudulent ideas. These can include get-rich-quick scams, secret systems to beat the stock market, weird conspiracy theories, fake paranormal stuff, and fringe political movements. Any or all of these things in a credulous, uncritical person are extremely difficult to live with. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.